All right, my name is Amit. I'm with my very dear friend Steve Breda, real estate broker extraordinaire.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? And wait till you get the bill for that.
Yeah, I'm
But
going to get the bill. I know.
I want to introduce Steve. Steve and I have been friends for years and years. Steve, you've been in the industry for how long now?
7 years now.
7?
Sorry, 4 decades is what I meant.
4 decades.
Yeah,
So 40 years you've been in selling real estate.
Yep.
Wow.
40
So
years.
you've seen a few markets.
A couple of them,
Yeah,
yeah.
been through a few cycles.
The ups and downs, yeah.
Tell us, how does this one differ from some of the other ones you've been through?
Love this one. I mean, the last 8 years has been totally difficult for a buyer, right? All seller made, and you're kind of more the order taker. We're here now. You get to create a little bit more of your knowledge and your expertise, where you can come in and actually form and help, your buyers and sellers that we didn't really get to do over these last 8 years as much.
So 8 years, remind me. So let's see here. This is 2022. So since 2014, it's been a pretty heavy seller's market in the Seattle area.
Yeah, doing the offer reviews, right? I mean, list a property on a Wednesday, and on Tuesday, offers are due at noon, and you've got 15 offers to choose from, right? Wow. 14 buyers, not going to win the day.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
now it's a whole, every playing field now switches over to the buyer, which is what's exciting if you have good lending programs.
Sure, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about here, but we find that the buyers right now, some of them have cold feet. Some of them are a little bit nervous about what's going on with the market. Am I buying at the top? Am I buying at the bottom? Is there going to be a correction? So they're a little hesitant to just jump right in and take guidance when someone who's been in the business for 40 years and who's seen a few cycles says, hey, this is the best time to buy. Why is it the best time to buy?
Well, when you're uneducated and you're fearful, you hesitate.
Sure.
So what we need to do is have more education, right? There has to be education coming from good lenders and good brokers. A lot of good brokers out there and a lot of programs that need to be put in front of a buyer that makes them comfortable and be able to have a step forward to make that move and tip over. So.
Right. So one of the things we want to talk about is the contingent offer, because there's a lot of people right now, and I've been telling a lot of people that, hey, now's your opportunity. If you have a home to sell and you want to buy your new home, now's an opportunity when you might actually be able to negotiate something a little bit more, I don't know if it's exotic or a little bit more creative, however we want to describe that, where last year, man, you've got 30 other offers you're competing with. You're escalating 20% above asking price. You're giving away your firstborn. You're giving away, your earnest money. There was no negotiation. It was all one-sided. Now you got an opportunity at least to negotiate. So some people think they can write contingent offers. And I know you've been dealing with that. What are some of the downsides of the contingent offer?
Well, it's nice to actually be in a market where you get that choice now, where you actually could do a contingent offer, right? You haven't been able to do that in the last 8 years, like you said. But some of the downsides are you go in and you put a contingent offer in. Number one, you're paying list price. 95% of the time you have to pay list price, and you have to put your property contingent home on the market within 5 days.
5 days. So let's talk about that. So you have to have your act together in 5 days, and your house has to be listed for sale on the market 5 days after that contingent offer is accepted.
In the MLS, yes.
Really?
Yep.
So I got to share with you, the house where we live currently, we bought that on a contingent offer in 2016. And I was not prepared for my home to be listed for sale within 5 days. We weren't ready. We weren't planning on buying the house. It just happened. And the seller did take a contingent offer, but we had to get all that deferred maintenance. We had to get paint done. We had to get cleaning. We had to pack all of our stuff and put a bunch of stuff in the garage. We were living in the house while there were showings, while there were open houses.
Good point.
It was a mess. Yeah. Every time they wanted to show the house, I had to vacate. I had to go down to the bar down the street. Now, that wasn't so much of a problem for me, but they got to know me very well down there, right? Every time someone wanted to see the house, we had to leave, and we had to keep it spotless like we were living in a museum until it got sold. And people don't realize that, that's a contingent offer. That's what that looks like. But we had 5 days, like you said, 5 days to get it on the market.
Oh, professional pictures, droning, video, Matterports, right? It takes 4 days just to get a signpost up out front, right? So right. You're on the constant move of hustling, trying to get it ready. And with this new program that you have,
yeah,
why do we not have to do that?
Well, we're going to talk about in in just a minute, but I do want to talk more about that contingent offer. What are the other risks? Like the seller could decide at any time, right, that they're done with you. Tell me more, because
Well, there's a
you've
bump
listed
period that
some
goes
homes.
in. It's called a 5-day bump, which is a normalcy, and a contingency, which the seller keeps their property on the market. It's still for sale. If another buyer comes in and they like it and they put their offer in that's non-contingent, then you get served a bump notice if you're representing the buyer. Now that buyer has 5 days to remove their contingency, right?
Wow.
Which is all their conditions have to be removed, right? Or they have to leave the deal, right? They walk
Wow.
away and the other buyer just took over their property. So and you just got your house ready and on the market and you're doing all the moves you're doing to get it ready and showed and it didn't sell yet and now somebody bumped you and it's an uncomfortable position when you lose that property. So
Didn't really think about that. Like, you've put on all the work and all the time and all the effort, and you're actually on the market for sale, and the home you're going to buy just got snatched away from you, and you got kicked to the curb.
heartbreaking.
Man, that's rough.
And then do you keep your house on the market or do you take it off if you're the listing broker and the seller? And I mean, it's a difficult time. So
Yeah. So we have a solution, as Steve's been suggesting, and I want to talk about this. This is the buyer accepted program. We're doing a deal. We're trying to do more deals, but this is something that, as I told you, Steve, when we started talking about that, it was a program that came out of the competitive market, the seller's market of 2 years ago and last year. And that's really when Buyer Accepted was born, because we had buyers that were not able to compete with cash offers. And the sellers were dictating. They're like, hey, bring me everything, leave it at the doorstep. I will decide which one of you I will bequeath my home to. And so we wanted to help them out, right? And we did. We created this program. But then the world shifted, right? Change is a constant. I'm sure after 40 years, you've seen markets change. I don't know if you've seen them change this quickly from last year to this year, but here we are now, and what we've got is the same program. But what I realized is that the home that you are selling, if you're a buyer, the home that you are selling on the Buyer Accepted program does not count against you in qualifying for the loan on the new home that you're buying. That's like the really big piece from the lending perspective. Whenever people come to me and they say, hey, I want to buy my new home before I sell my old home, the old-fashioned way of doing that was like the traditional or the weird bridge loan, where first things first, we got to take $100,000 or $200,000 of equity out of that home. And the only way we could do that is by a home equity line of credit. So the client's taking on new debt right there. And then we take all of those mortgage payments, the new home, the old home, the new mortgage on the HELOC, we put it all together and we try to qualify them for that big payment. And a lot of people just don't have the income for that. And so what the Buyer Accepted program will allow us to do is we buy, through our affiliate program, we buy your listing on behalf of our buyer. And we pay cash for that, which is a really good deal.
That's a big deal.
It's really
you
huge.
just said it's a big deal.
Tell me how, as a listing broker representing sellers, when someone says, hey, I can pay cash, how does that change the equation when you talk to your sellers about that as a listing broker?
It's night and day. It's the game changer, right? It's the one thing you're listening for, like we did the last 8 years. You got 15 offers and one of them's all cash. Well, you're sitting up straight for that, right? Then it's the same program now. If you've got a program, you're coming in and you're representing that buyer's coming through and it's all cash,
Yeah.
right? That's a big change. So that seller now is looking at, yeah, I can take a discount on the price.
Oh.
It's all cash, right? It doesn't have to be the same contingency where you got to pretty much come in at list price,
Right.
to get the contingency put together. Now you're coming in all cash, and I'll take a discount. Yeah, I'll look at my seller. I'll say, this is a great opportunity. It's going to close in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4, whatever you decide the timing is at your choice,
Right.
as the buyer. That seller's going to tip it over, and that broker will work right with them. Yeah, let's take $50,000 off the price. We've been on the market for a month or two. And it's a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. Cash is king. It always has been, always will be. Right. And it's one of those things from a lending perspective. Look, I like doing loans, right? I mean, I get paid when I close loans for people. But at the same time, I know the value of cash. And when you're a cash buyer, what it means to the seller in lay people's terms is little risk or no risk, right? We don't have to worry about an appraisal not happening. We don't want to have to worry about somebody losing their job along the way. We don't have to worry about, hey, my down payment was attached to Bitcoin or crypto.
No conditions.
No conditions. It's just cash on the table, folding money. That's really, really cool. And I think that inspires a lot of sellers to actually, as you say, consider other terms like a lower purchase price or closing cost concessions or a discount or whatever it is. Because with the buyer accepted program, as you know, our affiliate pays cash and buys your listing. The client, the buyer, the would-be buyer, moves in and they pay rent until their departing residence, their old home is sold. When their old home is sold, there's a contract between the client and buyer accepted to buy the home that you had listed originally. So there's a second contract there, and that's usually done with a mortgage, that's usually done with closing costs and things like that. And so anything that the seller gives to buyer accepted gets passed on to the ultimate buyer as a pass-through. So any concessions, any credits, any interest rate buy-downs, whatever it is, all of that is to the benefit of the buyer at the end of the deal. Buyer accepted is just kind of like the middle person that does both sides of the transaction, which is really cool.
Well, that buyer's rent, as you mentioned, is actually accrued, right? They're not putting out of their pocket anything every month, which is really nice.
That's right.
So they still have their house, their loan until that's sold and closed, but they're not paying two payments out of their pocket. And that's a game changer.
Exactly. We talk about cash flow. I mean, cash is king.
Sure.
And cash flow is critical, right? Cash flow is like oxygen. And when you have a contingent offer, or I should say when you do a traditional bridge loan, you're paying the mortgage on the old house, you're paying the mortgage on the new house. And that's a lot of cash to be burning through, especially in this economy. When you do this through the buyer accepted, as you pointed out, there's a rent that's charged, but it's not collected until the old home is sold, and now you're flush with cash. You pay all that off at that time, and you move on down the road. So we try to make this as convenient as possible for people because it's complicated enough to buy real estate and to sell real estate. We want to make this as easy as possible for people. I want to share one other thing with you that's really cool, and I think from your perspective as a real estate broker, you guys get paid, the listing broker and the buyer's agent, y'all get paid when buyer accepted closes on the first transaction, not on the second transaction. So you guys are paid your commissions early on in the deal, and you are no longer exposed to risk. That's got to be a pretty decent sort of compensation.
That's a game changer too. But you could be paid if it closes in a week or 5 days, right up front. We're normally on a contingency. The broker's going to get paid on both transactions when the contingent house sells and then closes,
right?
And then closes simultaneous with the contingent home up when they're trying to buy the contingency. And so, you're in a double win. You get paid up front, and then you get paid a second time when the second contingent home sells.
Right.
Brokers, we're loving this. We love your program.
Well, I tell you, I want to get it out to as many people as possible. I mean, what other things out there have you seen that would compete with something that's this creative and that's this user-friendly? Some of the words that I've heard are too good to be true.
Yeah, but see, that's your problem is it's too good to be true. And when I first heard it, I'm like, dude, that's too good to be true. But the uniqueness of it is too good to be true, but it is true.
Yeah.
And it's to me, and we mentioned how many years in the business, this is one of the most unique and exciting platforms and lending platforms I have ever seen. It's that exciting, and it is that good to be true, and I love it. I mean, as soon as you told me about it, and we jumped right in, and we got my whole team together, and we took the course, and it was wonderful. And it's just learn something new every moment, and we're just all hands on it. We have 4 contingent buyers that are waiting in the wings. We're now switching, as you know, into your program, and they're excited beyond belief, right?
Absolutely.
So when we see that, we want to share that with everybody too, because your program is game changing. So good for you guys.
Well, it's innovative, and I give credit to New American Funding and our affiliates for coming up with the idea in the first place. I take a lot of credit on taking that and turning it 180 and saying, hey, we can use this for contingent offers as well, because this is where the market is right now. And there are people who are thinking about trading up, and when they can move into that new home sooner rather than later, and they can paint the walls, they can hang their art, they can buy their furniture, they can do all those things that they need to do to get comfortable while their old home is on the market for sale, and they're not being dragged out in the middle of the weekend so that there could be an open house or a showing, and they're not out there scrubbing, keeping everything clean and pristine down to ironing the towels and whatnot so it looks right. That's a huge opportunity for people just to get comfortable, live their life, and do their thing. So I give credit to New American Funding for coming up with those ideas. But we need to educate people. And this is one of the things I love about talking with you in general. You're an advocate. You've been doing this for so long. Your kids are doing this with you now, and you've seen the value of real estate, how it can help people in general. And we just got to educate more people that there's opportunities right now. The news is always negative. People are always like, oh, it's a terrible time. Oh,
Truth.
but there's opportunities. And I know you love to talk about that.
Well, one of the things that we briefly hit on earlier about the 5-day bump with your program, one of our clients said, well, I don't know, maybe I might want to just go slow and still do a contingency. But even if they did that, and they put a contingency in and it was accepted, probably at the list price, if they got bumped in that 5th day or they had the 5-day bump and they're part of your program, now they get a choice.
Right.
I can still come in and save the day and buy that property.
Right.
And not have to worry about losing that house that we've already mentally moved into and ready to go. And it's another safety net, right?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
You're right. You're absolutely right. And that brings that makes me think about that, because if you're in a contingent offer right now, I mean, ideally I'd like to start with buyer accepted before offers are written, but we're flexible, we're creative, we want to make deals happen. So if you're in that situation, we can still get you pre-approved, we can still get you pre-underwritten, we could still get you approved through the buyer accepted program within that 5-day span, and you could still list your home for sale. We could still close on that purchase for cash. We could still get it done. And so it's not ideal that way, but at the same time, life is messy. Things get complicated. We still want to find ways to say yes to people.
Every tool we have in the toolbox, right?
Especially.
Anything we can bring in. But your program is a game changer, and I hope other brokers will understand it, utilize it. I mean, to me, it's just it's a miracle program. I love everything about it. I'm glad you shared it with me. So
I appreciate that, my friend. I appreciate it. I want to share one last story. We got a little bit of time here. I want to talk about the clients that we have right now that have lived in their home for a while. They want to have one last Christmas in their home, right?
Yeah.
And how cool is this? They've already identified a home that they want to buy. They're downsizing. They're older folks, and the stairs are no longer easy for them and whatnot. And that happens.
Sure.
It happens in life. But they've already identified a home. They want to write that offer, but they want to take a nice vacation, a nice holiday season in their current home. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, one of the events we just had last week that we're working on, they said, well, we have all of our holiday
Christmas
lights and everything up
right?
around that. So if we put our contingency on this house, we have to be on the market in 5 days. We have all our stuff up. What do we, everybody's coming in and we have Christmas gifts under the tree. And I said, look, with this program, just push it off, close it, list your house in 40 days after Christmas, right? And then you'll close on the house that you want to buy, put yours on the market, don't have it be shown for 2 days. Your movers are in for those 2 days, moving you into the new house. You're not there in your home when it's now being shown. You have no distractions. You didn't have to put the Christmas things away, and you're on the market, right?
Yeah.
When it's time and it's convenient for you to be on the market. So
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
perfect.
It. It's a way of helping people achieve their goals, and that's what I love about real estate. It's a way of helping people get from point A to point B in the more significant parts of their life. This is where people live. This is how people do things. Anything we can do to help them out, we want to do that. And I know that's part of your mission in life. You've been doing it for a long time, so obviously it means a lot to you. Your kids are doing it now. Team Breda is very, very successful. You're all up and down on Puget Sound. We're happy to work with you on this.
We'll appreciate it. We appreciate always working with you and getting everything to the closing table in this program. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure, Steve. I just want to thank you for coming out today. I know you've got other things you've got to do. The holidays are coming. You still got a bunch of listings. You still got a bunch of clients to take care of. But I appreciate you spending a little time with us today, talking about this and sharing this with your colleagues.
Oh, share it with everybody that we can. And I hope people will pick up on this and jump on board right away. I mean, it's that different. So
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, my brother. You have a great holiday season. I'm sure you and I will see one another before too long, but I do want to thank you for spending a little time with us here at New American Funding.
Thanks for having me.
Take care.